Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Strategoi video. Ryan here, covering an army that I'm actually really excited to see an update for because it's been one of my two main armies for 4th edition thus far. That's the Ossiarch Bonereapers. I still need to finish my video series covering the ins and outs of all the war scrolls. I'm almost done with that one, but in the lull in between the Scourge of Ghyran and updates and worlds, and then the last video that I posted before all that where I was kind of down on 4th edition, kind of lost some of the motivation. But now it's almost ready to go. I just need to get through all these guys and then post that one. So all of you OBR fans out there, don't worry, I'll be finishing up the series soon enough. And I still do love the faction, even if I feel like it's gotten a little bit worse since they had the points updates, and didn't balance out some of the other units that I'm thinking probably need to be balanced out a bit. But anyway, obviously this is a new day because we're getting not only an update here, but obviously the new points that will come with the GHB eventually and all the new rules. So let's just dive on in. Before I do so though, please remember just to share, subscribe and like the video, and join us in the Discord in the comments below. I'll try to keep on top of that, but it's just so many videos I've been making lately that it's hard to be on top of answering everyone on time. Anyway, it looks like the video is not actually playing. Let's reload that. Oh, still not available. Okay. Well, anyway, I haven't been watching those videos anyway. So if we're looking at OBR, it doesn't seem that we've got a new, what's it called, GHB update article here, or bit, so that's fine. We do get two new battle profiles. That's for the Mortis and Boneshaper and for Mortech Guard. Nice. And let's see, there's a distinct red tint to the air tomorrow's article. Looks like we're probably going to be doing corn and then talking about the new terrain rules. Okay. But anyway, focusing on OBR itself. So the Mortisan Boneshaper, it went up 10 points, at least. Again, as I've been saying, these videos, we're also going to get points changes that come out with these. So it could be that it's actually cheaper than what the Boneshaper eventually becomes. But at least on paper right now, it looks like it went up 10 points. He can take any Gothizzar Harvester and any infantry just as before. And then Mortech Guard, I think they've stayed the same price, right? At 10 for 120 being infantry. So let's go take a look at the new War Scrolls. All right. The Mortisan Boneshaper, for those that don't know, this is one of our smaller foot troop dudes. It was kind of our, like, what am I trying to say? Infantry wizards. That's what I mean. Foot wizards. And he was kind of built around the idea of the recursion mechanic that hasn't quite actually taken shape in the meta with OBR. Largely because Mortech Guard and the Gothizzar Harvester have been two of our weaker units, and the recursion and the base rules just kind of fell off a bit. But let's see if they keep him in that direction. Seems like it makes sense, though. So Mortisan Boneshaper going around the wheel, 5-inch move still, 5 health, 2 control, 4 up save, 6+ ward, got moved to the top of the war scroll, as well as being down below, as you'll see when I scroll down here. Hero Wizard 1, as before, infantry, 6+ ward, death, OBR, and Mortisan. So everything's to be expected. And then if we look at the attack profile, which of course with such a foot hero we're not really all that concerned with, but was always crit 2 hits like all of the non-companion type weapons you mainly see in OBR, with 3 attacks, 4s, no rend 2. So nothing's changed with any of that. We're only looking at abilities here and the points that changed. So let's talk about the one ability the Mortisan Boneshaper always had. That was a once per turn your hero phase, but it wasn't once per turn army, interestingly enough. Most often we see that. That means technically with multiple Boneshapers you could have done the, I'm calling it old ability, but the index ability, let's say, where you had to pick a friendly OBR unit holy than 12 to be the target, and on a 3+, if the target is damaged, heal 3 the target. If the target is not damaged, return a number of slain models to the target unit with a combined health characteristic of up to 3, which would be basically your Tyrannic Cohort, your Mortech Guard, or Cavalus Death Riders, because the Immortus Guard and Necropolis Stalkers had 4 wounds each, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check that, but I'm almost 100%. Yeah, that's correct. So anyway, it was allowing for some of your infantry recursion. Of course, it had to go off on a 3+, and yeah, I just don't know how strong that actually was when you're kind of points hungry in the army, and you're probably not running a ton of Mortech Guard, we were largely taking either big blocks of Caval's Death Riders, some amount of Mortek Crawlers, or the Morghast units, either Archai or Harbingers. So anyway, let's see what that rule was replaced with. We have apparently a CP, a command ability, and then a passive ability. So the passive ability, each time a friendly non-hero OBR unit holding than 12 of this unit uses the rally command, you can make 3 additional rally rolls. Now we saw a rule recently in one of the other videos that said it added 3 rally points. Rally points would be you get 3 that automatically go off no matter what you roll on your rally rolls. This is saying instead of 6 or 7 if you have a musician, you're rolling 9 or 10 dice, and you still have to hit the 4+ to heal things. But, you know, it doesn't say that there's a once per turn ability, of course, but well, what this does imply, because you're only using usually 1 rally in phase, that it is implicitly 1. You could be asking the question, well, what if 2 Mortis and Boneshapers are standing around that 1 unit? Do they get both of these? And I'm pretty sure because this is a passive ability, you can only be affected by 1 passive ability at a time of the same name. Then you'd still only just get 3, even though you'd have 2 Boneshapers standing around. So this wouldn't stack. Okay, and then the command ability, Boneshaper. Declare, if this unit is not in combat, pick a friendly Mortek Guard unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit rounding up wholly within 12 inches of this unit more than 9. This is great. This is a huge buff for this build because obviously the old rule was on a 3-up, you were getting, you know, maybe 3 models back to that unit or healing it, and it wasn't reliable that it was going off. Now, of course, you do have to blow a CP, and once you bring back a unit, you can't bring it back again. But keep in mind, OBR's got a formation. It's the weakest, in my opinion, of the 4 formations that it currently has from the index. That was the not Mortisan Council. That was the Mortek Phalanx, where you could pick a friendly Mortek Guard unit that has been destroyed, and on a 5-up, you can set up a replacement unit on the battlefield outside of 9. So obviously the Boneshaper here has to stay alive. He can't be in combat, and you have to be able to set up the half unit you're bringing back outside of 9 inch from all enemies, but yet still wholly within 12 of this guy. So there are some conditions, but it's a way better rule because it goes off automatically for a CP instead of having to take that battle formation, which, I mean, rolling a 5-up to get that unit back, which probably isn't dying on turns 1 or 2 unless you get alpha'd, means you only get 3 stabs at it, which means you're likely only bringing 1 unit back with a 5-up roll on average. In 3 turns worth, I mean. This is definitely an upgrade. So if you want to build this build, I think this is definitely the way to go. He's still a 1 caster, which is great. You're getting some amount of extra healing. This is not equivalent to getting 3 damage healed on a unit, as the other version of it is. You have to commit to, of course, a CP for using a rally. And adding 3 additional rally rolls where you need a 4-up is equivalent to bringing 1.5 models back, or at least doing 1.5 wounds worth of healing. So it's not quite the same, but this is much stronger. So in general, I'm a fan of this. Whether or not a Mortek build is actually the way to go, I don't know. But if you're doing that combined with maybe a Gothizzar Harvester, then this is a key piece that you need to have in your army. Okay. And Mortek Guard. So let's check them out. Obviously the bare bones, no pun intended, for the army. They're just your basic, what we used to call battle line type unit. 4-inch move, 1 health, 1 control, 4-up save, 6-up ward. Nothing changed there. Let's look at the keywords. Infantry, champion, standard bearer, 1 out of 10, ward, 6-up. Oh, and there's no musician in this unit. So I don't know why I thought there might have been a musician, but I guess they weren't printing musicians as much at that time when they made this new army back in, like, what was that, I want to say 2019 or so. It was before COVID for sure. Death and Ossiarch Bonereapers. Anyway, still 10 models, of course. Now, their weapon profile was, this has definitely changed. It was 2 attacks, 3s, 4s with crit 2 hits, no rend 1, but anti-charge +1 rend. So what we're now seeing is the exact same profile, except instead of being anti-charge, they get anti-cav. So regardless of whether they got charged by the cavalry, which of course they probably are anyway, then they're getting +1 rend. I think it really depends on the meta and what you expect them to be getting charged by, whether this is good or not. They're certainly not chasing after cav to go get them because they're too slow, even with the +2 inch movement they can get from the Relentless Discipline movement ability. But anyway, so the passive ability that is on the index version of the Mortet Guard was Shield Wall, which ignored all modifiers to save rolls for this unit, positive and negative, for the rest of the turn if this unit did not use a move ability in the same turn. It's a weird ability because it says for the rest of the turn, but it is passive. So that seems kind of like unnecessary because it's just always on and it's not never checking for whatever. But so basically, before you've made a move, it counts. If for some reason someone could attack you before you made a move in your own movement phase or in someone else's movement phase, whenever. And then after you've maybe possibly made a move, as long as you haven't made a move, then you would be ethereal essentially, which could be a positive or a negative depending on how good you wanted their save to be. Obviously, they can't make it any better, but with high rend values, it's really strong. But anyway, that's been replaced with once per phase army reaction, a friendly OBR war machine, so that would be the crawler, monster, so that would be the Gothazar Harvester, one of the big boys, or Mortisan unit, so that would be your small foot wizards. Within this unit's combat range was targeted by an attack ability. Okay, cool. So for the rest of the phase, subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of weapons used for attacks that target that friendly unit. Yeah. Okay, so they're kind of absorbing it, and it doesn't mean they actually get hit any harder. They just are protecting these things. And cool thing is you could just string out a whole bunch of Mortet Guard and be protecting those different units. And it doesn't say non-hero, so in the case where there could be a hero like a monster or obviously Mortisan, then you're helping protect some very valuable resources there. Granted, you're not protecting any infantry or whatever. I like this rule a lot, and I think it gives them a bit more flexibility than they're in an army setting than what you were getting for becoming ethereal. And I'm pretty sure, I need to check this real quick, but I'm pretty sure that an attack ability would include shooting. Give me just a second. I'm grabbing my core book right here, and I just want to double check that shooting would count as an attack. So let's see. Shooting is in fact an attack ability because its attack is a keyword. And so that's shooting is core, attack, and shoot. So it would be protecting your guys against not only attacks, which refer to the attack's characteristic, from melee weapons, but also attacks from shooting weapons because they are attack abilities, which is a different use of the word attack in Warhammer legalese, if you will. Okay, I actually like both of these upgrades. I think they're small, but I think it helps push Mortek Guard in 2 different ways better into the actual meta and the kind of army you would want to bring. All right, so let's take a look at what's above here. We've got 2 new battle formations and a new spell lore. Let's take a look at the formations. So both of them are once per turn army, your hero phase. We've got for Tithe Guards, we've got pick a friendly, non-unique OBR wizard to use this ability. Then pick up to 3 visible, friendly, non-fly OBR units, wholly within 12 of the wizard to be the target. So let's talk about what those could be. So friendly, non-unique OBR wizard is going to be all of your Mortisan casters, your foot casters, excepting Vok Mortian, who is unique. So that's going to be your Soul Reaper, your Soul Mason, your Bone Shaper, and your Ossiarch. Those 4. Okay? And then 3 visible, friendly, non-fly OBR units. Now, this doesn't specify that it has to be non-heroes or something like that. So, non-fly, that's taking Nagash out, that's taking Archon out, and it's taking out the 2 Morgash units, so Archai and Harbingers. But as far as I'm aware, it's the whole rest of the army that you could be picking for this, and they have to be wholly within 12 of the wizard. Okay, roll a d3 for each target on a d3 2+. So on a 3, 4, 5, 6. If the target is damaged, heal X the target where X is the amount equal to the roll. If the target is not... Okay, this is, as far as I'm aware, exactly the same ability that was on the Bone Shaper that we just saw, the current index version of the Bone Shaper. But now you can give it from any one of those non-unique OBR wizards. Um, so any of the Mortisans, basically, that are not Vokmortian, they all get to do this. Sorry, one of them gets to do it, but any one of them could be picked as the one that triggers it to pick 3 different visible non-fly OBR units, which could be healing themselves or healing something else, and bringing models back. So this is also very good for your Mortec kind of horde list or whatever you want. Less elite, more bodies recursion list. I think this definitely moves the needle if you're trying to play that build. My buddy Derek back here in the Netherlands probably is psyched about this because he was really trying to make a Mortec list work. And if I remember correctly, when talking about the different OBR units that exist, this actually changed my last video now that I'm looking at it. A number of people in the comments were frustrated that the Mortec build just didn't seem, the Mortec guard build didn't seem to really work anymore. So I like this a lot. This is cool. Okay, then we've got Hecatos Drill Masters. Once per turn, army your hero phase. Pick a friendly non-hero, non-fly OBR infantry unit to be the target. That's a very specific thing. That's going to be... all right, so we've got Tyrannic Cohort and Mortec Guard. You've got Necropolis Stalkers and Immortus Guard. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, that's it. Those 4 units. Pick one of the following effects to apply until the start of your next turn. The target has a 5+ ward, so it's basically +1 to their ward roll because they all have a basic 6. Add 1 to charge rolls, which would stack with the Relentless Discipline +1 charge, so you could get up to +2. Add 1 to wound rolls, which is nice because in the combat phase, and pretty much all of these units are just combat units, right? They're not shooting. So +1 to wound. If you go for the 5+ ward, then you could choose for your Relentless Discipline for the buff to actually be +1 to wound if you think that the other units that would benefit from that need it more than the 5+, yet this one would have both. Or you could go the other way around with choosing the 5+ ward, the +1 wound, whichever one I just said, the opposite. And then the target's melee weapons have anti-charge +1 rend. So interestingly, you could give this back to the War Scroll for the Mortec Guard if you really wanted to, which is the biggest difference with their current War Scroll and I guess the Ethereal rule. This is really interesting too. So this gives you some flexibility, and they don't have to be standing around a particular hero, which is nice because if they wipe out all your heroes, you don't have access to Relentless Discipline anymore. You still have this, and there's a lot of flexibility. It kind of feels a little bit like Necropolis Stalkers, where they have those 4 heads, and they pick a different kind of mode to be in. Or kind of like the terrain piece. I like this a lot. I don't know where the best application is, and of course it has a lot of overlap with the Relentless Discipline abilities, but it's just flexible and nice, and it seems like a good baseline to have. The first one that we talked about there, the Tithe Guards, fits more of a kind of recursion build, but this one could be just kind of any army. And considering the formations that we have, we already talked about the kind of bad Mortec recursion one on a 5+. There's the Mortisan Council for +1 to cast for the Wizards, which was kind of like a standard default. There's the 6-inch pregame move for 3 Cav units, Caval's Lance, and then there was the Mortec Balistrari, which was good for the crawlers. And so a lot of them were very specific to which build you were doing, and then this Hecatos Drill Masters just kind of is good for most builds, unless of course you're going all Cav because they wouldn't benefit from it, or you're going all Morghast. All right, interesting. So we're seeing some more love for the infantry units. Okay, I like both of these. I think they're both good. Spell lore. So this makes us yet another one of the armies that's got a new second spell lore. Was it Gitz that got it? Yes, it was Gitz because they lost their pushing the moon around ability. So now we have, if I'm not mistaken, with these expansions thus far, 4 armies. We had, of course, Seraphon and Tzeentch that had 2 spell lores straight out the gate with their indexes, and then we got Gitz, and now we've got OBR. So we've got 4 armies now that have 2 spell lores, at least for this coming season. Let's talk about the spells that you have access to that you're going to be giving up by taking these. So you had Drain Vitality, which was fantastic. 12-inch range spell for -1 hit, -1 save. Just a fantastic spell. It goes off on a 7. You had Empower Naderite Weapons. That was your unlimited spell for that all is you could cast once per however many wizards you had. Goes off on a 5 and picks an OBR unit within 12, notably not wholly within, and it would give them crit hits on 5s instead of 6s. Particularly good on the Archai I found, or the Harbingers as well, the Morgash units, because they have low amounts of attacks, so guaranteeing that they get more to go through really makes a difference. And then Shard Storm, well, it goes off on a 7. Pick an enemy unit with an 18, and it's anti-horde, doing mortal damage on 5 up per model. So that's what you're giving up. Let's see what our new unlimited spell is. All 3 of these are going off on 5, so they're easier to get off. Bolster Creation. Pick a friendly OBR wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible friendly OBR unit holy than 12. Until the start of your next turn, ignore the first damage point allocated to the target each phase. So you'd be giving up crits on 5s to have this on as many units as you have wizards, maybe. Yeah, ignoring the first damage point allocated to the target each phase is good, especially good into armies that can do damage in multiple phases. You're getting the most efficiency out of that. So if they can do some mortal damage in the hero phase, they got some shooting phase, maybe some charge phase, impact hits, a combat phase, and then power through, something like that, then you're getting max efficiency on this. I don't know how great it is. I think it's particularly good on your heroes that just need to be ignoring as much as possible. But against your big blocks of troops, maybe it helps push Archai and Harbingers over the edge of being a little tankier. But I still think they're a little too soft, especially Harbingers, for how much you pay for them. Maybe this would help tilt the needle a bit. Okay, Invigorate the ranks. Pick a friendly OBR wizard to cast a spell. Pick a visible friendly OBR unit holy than 12, so same range. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the target's melee weapons at the start of your next turn. Doesn't impact companions, of course, but that's mostly okay in OBR because even with Caval's Death Riders, it's the riders that are doing all the work. Obviously, +1 attacks is fantastic. If this was the unlimited spell, I would say it's definitely better than crits on 5s, but it's still a great spell. Yeah, you can't complain with it. And it goes, again, particularly far on, like, I mean, it's going to do a lot on Mortek Guard, but I don't know if they're really expected to do a lot of heavy lifting. To me, it's doing a lot on the Morghast units because they have base 3 attacks each. So it's a 33% output improvement, which really helps them guarantee they get their stuff off. Okay, and then last one, Soul Claim. Pick a friendly OBR wizard to cast a spell, a visible enemy with an 18 to be the enemy target. Then you can pick a visible friendly OBR unit holy than 12 of the wizard to be the friendly target. Inflict D3 mortal damage on the enemy target. If any models are slain by this ability, pick one of the following: heal 3 or return. It's the same thing as the battle formation. It's just siphoning some of the damage you do into that new unit. So obviously this one in particular leans very well into this new kind of Horde Mortek build we've been talking about thus far in the update. So in total, do I think this is better? I mean, crits on 5s are great, but obviously +1 attack's good. Yeah. Shardstorm I didn't get to use a whole lot doing like horde damage, so I think that's easy to give up. To me, Drain Vitality is pretty rough to lose because subtracting -1 from hit rolls is defensive, plus -1 from save is really helping some of your not super high rend guys, with the exception of your Morghast units, getting through. And of course, that also helped with your shooting from Mortek Crawlers, whereas this aggressive thing here doesn't. But I don't hate it. I think there's a certain build that's going to go for this. I could see it being a toss-up for some people. Yeah, what do you guys think at home? Personally, I like both of these. I think this is a good base formation to have, just flexible, so long as you've got some non-hero, non-fly infantry units. One of the 4 that I mentioned, and particularly good for either big blocks of Mortek Guard or, let's say, some Necropolis Stalkers or Mortis Guard. I think that could push them over the edge too. And then this is obviously great for Mortek Guard blobs, plus all the new rules we talked about. So that's it for today, guys. We'll go real quickly through this one since I know this army a little better, and it's relatively simple. What are you guys' thoughts at home? I'll have that new OBR video out, definitely based on this information. So maybe I'll wait for the battle scroll to drop so that we know what all the points are and all the rules are in the new edition, and then I'll just finish up OBR in that way before I start applying all of these changes to things. But anyway, until the next time, guys, thanks so much. Ryan out.